Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of Gym Tutorials. My name is Kading. Today we're going to talk about lunges, and I want to stress the importance of lunges. You can argue that it is the most functional exercise, even more over squats and deadlifts, just because as humans, we go one step at a time. If we move both legs at the same time, we'd be hopping rather than walking. So, if you do not have that in your programming, I highly recommend getting different types of lunges in your programming. So first, before we begin, I would like to go over some different priming exercises. Priming is that fancy term that I like to use for a more effective warm-up where you're engaging versus stretching where you're trying to actually relax into positions rather than ramping up your central nervous system. So the first exercise I would like to go over is the combat stretch. And believe it or not, these warm-up exercises or priming exercises are the same ones that you would do for squatting. And start thinking that lunges are essentially single-legged squats. Okay, so the big joints that are going to be addressed here are going to be the ankle, the knee, and the hip. So for the combat stretch, you're going to take your hands, place it just in front of your knee on the thigh, drive your heel down, and pull up your toes. We're trying to get a little bit of a stretch in the back of the leg, so kind of in the Achilles area, where we're trying to activate all the muscles in the shin. So hands on the thigh, you're going to guide it forward while you push. Now you're really going to try to pull up. This should feel like work. Nothing too crazy, just connecting, trying to increase range of motion of this ankle. Now I would hold that one for about 10 to 20 seconds, do about 5 on each side. Once you're nice and warmed up, you can move to the next exercise. The next one, we're going to go to the 90-90. So first what you're going to do is come all the way to the ground. You're going to place this front leg into the 90-degree angle, so a nice L shape like so. You're going to get your chest nice and squared up with that front leg. Then you're going to take your other arm, place it straight out to line up the other leg, and also place that in a nice 90-degree bend. Once you get here, you're going to hinge over, driving that front knee into the ground. You're going to get a good stretch, plus activation of the hip. And right here, I'm focusing on my left side. Do this for about 20 to 30 seconds. Flip over, and do the other side. Just make sure that you get everything lined up before you get into the position. Same thing there, 20 to 30 seconds. Okay, after that, we're going to do a couple of little hip lifts, which help activate rotational muscles of the hip. So first here, what you're going to do is you're going to focus on the back leg. You're going to try to pull that back foot up, try to hold for a few seconds, and then control it back down. Try to maintain a nice upright position, lifting up, squeezing, trying to activate the outside of that hip, outside of that glute, and back down. Then what you're going to do is move to the front one. This one's the much more difficult one, so do your best with it. Even if you're not getting that foot to lift, but you're getting activation around the hip, you're still doing a good job. So here we're trying to lift. As you can see, I can't get up as high. This movement needs to be worked a little bit more for me. I'm maybe getting up an inch on the front foot versus the back foot. I can get up close to a foot. Okay, so do that on each side a few times, really warming up the hips, and then you can start progressing through your priming session. Next one I like to do is a lot of people just feel lunges in their legs versus in the hips as well, so the glutes more specifically. So I like to have my clients lay back on their back. We're going to do some bridges here. Get your feet, knees, and hips all in the same line. You're going to pull that core in and flatten that low back. And then from here, you're going to lift, squeeze those glutes, push through your feet, try to get some hamstring activation as well, and then lower back down. And up, squeezing, holding, and back down. Go ahead and do about anywhere from 5 to 10 of those. really taking your time. Remember, priming is all about connecting and kind of firing up that central nervous system. So that way you know what it feels like to have that activation while doing your exercise. Okay, now you're probably asking yourself, Chris, well, I don't know how to do a lunge. How can I progress my lunge to get it looking like the conventional ones you see in exercise videos? Well, that's actually pretty common. Just like people tend to break down in their squats, I tend to see them struggle with lunges as well. So what I like to do is utilize some sort of assistive device. Today I'm going to be using a TRX strap, but I've also had clients use a chair or a bench to kind of have something to balance with, and they can even use their arms for assistance. So what I like to do here is now I have a pad for my knee, so I'm just going to get into a nice staggered stance position with my weight forward. Hands are on my assistive device. I'm going to guide that front knee forward, back knee down, and just kneel down onto the pad. Okay? And from here, I'm going to try to drive through my feet as much as I can, using the assistive device as much as I need, but trying to use it as little as possible. We're going to do 5 right now, where I'm kneeling down onto the pad. So down, nice and controlled, pushing that knee towards the toes, kind of like that combat stretch, and coming back up, really trying to focus on the hips coming through versus just coming up with the legs. 2, 3, 4, one more. Okay, and like squats, there's a large variety of different lunges you can do. The 2 that I'm going to focus on today are forward lunges and backwards lunges, so back stepping lunges. Now, forward lunges tend to get a little bit more quad activation. The quads are these big thigh muscles in front, versus the back stepping lunges, you get more hamstrings and glutes. So starting first with the forward stepping lunge, you start in a neutral position. You're going to step forward into the lunge, guiding that knee straight forward, then big push back. Now, what I like to have people do is when you're trying to balance things out, if you have a leg that you know is noticeably different or weaker than another leg, I want you to start with that leg. Then try to watch your form. When form breaks down is really when fatigue starts to happen in my book. So say I'm on rep 8, my form's starting to get a little shaky on my right side. That's where I'm going to stop and limit my left side to the right side's abilities. Okay, now just a set of 5 of forward lunges. I'm going to alternate so you can see both legs work. Number 4. 5. I'm going to do one more because I like balance. Get that left leg the same amount of work. Okay. The next one we're going to work with is the reverse lunge or back step lunge. Those are interchangeable. Once again, this one's more glute and hamstring focused, but only if you connect. That's why those bridges are so powerful in getting connection to those muscle groups. So here, now instead of stepping forward, I'm going to step back, still trying to guide this knee towards the toes, drive through that front leg, come back to neutral. And now once you get pretty comfortable with doing that without any weight added to your body, you can then start to add weight. Dumbbells, kettlebells, barbells are great tools to use to help strengthen your lunges. Now, once you start to strengthen that, you'll probably see things like walking, running, hiking, going up and down stairs become much more easy. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Gym Tutorials. We'll catch you next time.